this series has been recommended to me all month long. I've seen it constantly. And I've been told a lot of information before I read this first chapter just about an hour ago that this was from the mangaka of Deadman Wonderland. So the writer of Deadman Wonderland is writing this series, Smokin Parade. And knowing the track record of Deadman Wonderland and how I like the theme of Deadman Wonderland, I decided to give this a shot. Now, one other thing I want to mention before I get into my first impressions of Smokin Parade, I want to say that there's another series that recently came out called Fire Brigade, or something like that. It was from the mangaka of Soul Eater. Is making this new manga series that just came out like less than a week ago, and I'm thinking on doing also first impressions, because I have yet to read the chapter, but I'm going to be reading that chapter soon. So I noticed there is a ongoing trend right now this year that a lot of old mangaka known for some really good series are coming back with new work. Like, for instance, Platinum Inn, that's going to be coming out in November. You have it to where, you know, Fire Brigade, that's been coming from Soul Eater's mangaka. This right here with this series from the mangaka of Deadman Wonderland. And then also you have it to where Berserk is back, D. Greyman is back. So there's a bunch of things, or a bunch of mangaka coming back to continue writing or write new works. And there's something definitely going on. And this is definitely the year for manga fans, just to see all these different writers starting to come back. Now we just need Togashi to start writing Hunter x Hunter, and I think everything will be right with this world. But let's get into Smokin Parade. So this is my first impressions, and of course my first impressions will contain some form of spoilers. So if you want to read for yourself, if you like, you know, the mangaka of Deadman Wonderland, like if you like Deadman Wonderland, you like the writer from Deadman Wonderland, I recommend go check out this first chapter. It just came out, only one chapter, you might like it. It's going to be a monthly release series from what I know of, and the next chapter is going to be coming out sometime in November, so expect that, you know, chapter review early November, late November, somewhere around in there. But now that I've said that, I want to get into some spoiler stuff now. Spoilers in 3, 2, 1, 0, stato. Okay, so, the first chapter, the artwork is the first thing I want to take note of. The artwork looks really nice, and it looks so much better than Deadman Wonderland. Like, there's a lot of improvements compared to the previous work, Deadman Wonderland. Now, I'm not saying Deadman Wonderland's artwork is bad. I'm just saying when it comes to the way this manga has presented itself from this first chapter, the artwork looks really nice, and it seems like the mangaka has improved quite a bit since Deadman Wonderland was released. So, props right there. Artwork looks really nice. Now, another thing, too, is a lot of gore, a lot of violence. And this is something you should expect from this mangaka because of the work of Deadman Wonderland being what it was. You could see a lot of that inspiration from Deadman Wonderland in this series as well when it comes to some of the violence or the grotesque nature of some of the panels throughout this entire first chapter, especially with the birthday cake scene, which, oh shit! That was fucking, oh fuck, dude. Like, that birthday cake was, dude. It was a birthday cake full of fingers and meat. Just fucking fingers and toes and shit. Okay. So, getting off that mental image, the series, what is the plot about? So, from what I can understand what is going on right now, you have it to where society, or this new society, this society where, you know, Smokin Parade is in right now, has found a way to be able to kind of transplant any organs in the human body, or anything from the human body, to another person. For instance, let's say I lost my arms and legs. They could transplant anything back on. Even though society today can kind of do something like that, depending on the compatibility of parts and stuff, they can, like, transplant organs, like, you know, liver, kidneys, lungs, maybe even brains, heart, all sorts of shit in their society. But I think it's a 0.2% chance that depending on the surgery of this, when something gets transplanted, you have a possibility to where your mind just kind of goes violent like an animal, like your face turns into some form of animal creature, which happened to the little sister in this chapter, and then you'll become like a freaking monster killing machine. And you see how, like, the body just deforms and changes into different shit. So it's very creepy, and I'm willing to bet there's more going on in the back ends of, you know, politics and society and stuff that's probably caused this entire affair with human beings kind of changing into these some form of monsters, which leads into our main group. I think the group was called Jackalope. I could be wrong, but I think it was Jackalope. So this group that introduces itself is going to probably be our main characters of the series. And from what I can see from individual characters, they have their own little unique personalities which stand out between each other, and so I don't really see much issues when it comes to individual personalities. They seem like they have their own thing that'll make them worthy enough as good characters throughout the series. Just hope that the mangaka develops each individual character and takes the time with it, and we don't get rushed development with some of the characters. But back into the way these characters were done, it seems like the first chapter was letting us know that the main point of this group that was introduced is to take out the people, or the 0.2% of people that transform into these grotesque beings that will just kill anyone around. For instance, you know, what the little sister was doing to the main character in this chapter. For instance, you know, cutting his arms and legs off and putting them in a fucking cake and trying to feed it to him. That just goes to show you how sickening this series is going to be in some ways, but it shows you how violent these people can be and what the objective of our main character is. Now, speaking of our main character, let's get into him. So our main character, on first glance, he doesn't seem to be much of a character. First glance. Just first glance at looking at him, just doing a rough first glance, he just seems to be an average character that says, like, oh, why'd you hurt my sister? You know, that's kind of how he acts. That's the first impressions. Then after you take the moment to realize what type of character he is and what his mindset is, then you realize how good of a character he's probably going to be in the future. Because, judging by the way the first chapter was done to kind of showcase his character, he's not alright in the mind. Like, he jumps off a fucking bridge just to give someone back a can they threw out the window of their vehicle when they were littering. And he's like, hey, did you drop this can? And then, you know, he beats this dude's face in. He's like, hey, you shouldn't drop or litter and all that. But he jumped off a fucking bridge onto a moving vehicle. Yeah, that's insane. But it's not that either. Also, the way he showcases his character do all sorts of crazy things like that, I mean, how he's constantly been doing this all the time, with also how he's willing to go out of his way to the mountains and stuff, and go hunt down 2-leaf clovers to give to his sister, it just goes to show you how he's not right in the head. And then what he did too, how he jumped in front of, you know, the blast where he was about to die, that's kind of fucked up. He jumps in front and you just see this big hole in him, which I expected that type of character, and this is where I thought he was going to be an average character, but taking a few moments to think about what he did in the chapter, he's not the normal MC we see all the time in manga, so he's probably going to be a really cool character that's going to be psychologically unbalanced in the future of this manga. And that's about it. That's my first impressions of Smokin’ Parade. Pretty good chapter. I mean, I can't wait for the next chapter to see where it's going to go and see how the story develops. We need more information on the story, and we need more characterization for these characters, but this was the first chapter, and the main point of a first chapter of a new series is just to give the presentation of what the series is about and let you know what you're walking into when it comes to this manga. So, when it comes to the way this mangaka of Deadman Wonderland presented the first chapter of Smokin’ Parade, they did a good job, and I really don't have much complaints there. I can see where some might complain that it was a little bit too gory and violent, and it might just be doing that trying to do the shock factor of the first chapter, but I'm willing to bet the mangaka is going to take, you know, a different path and not just use violence and gore, but do a really good story. So tell me your thoughts in the comments below. You all have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.